Hello, everybody. This is Mike Van Meter, and this is Recovery is Possible. And this episode of Recovery is Possible is brought to you by Retreat Behavioral Health, where there are endless possibilities for recovery. Retreat provides quality care at their leading mental health and substance use treatment centers, which are designed to offer patients truly personalized and comprehensive programs that are tailored to their needs. Retreat substance use and mental health treatment centers in Palm Beach County, Florida, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and New Haven, Connecticut do everything in their power to ensure that patients receive the highest quality treatment in a safe and comfortable setting. So reach out today at retreatbehavioralhealth.com or call at 855-802-6600 for more information. And today, I want to talk about something that is very important in recovery, and that is the power of becoming a whole being. And that's really what we want to do in recovery, is become a whole being in body, mind, soul, everything, physical, emotional, mental, in all of these aspects of our life. We want to become whole. And so how do we do that? So Aparna Sain and I actually talk about this in an interview that we did, and she's interviewing me, and she's talking about her own spiritual journey, and then I talk about my recovery journey, and we have this discussion about how important it is to become a whole person. But really, how do you do that? So we talk about that in this episode, and I know that you're going to get a lot out of it. And please share this with everybody that you know that needs to be in recovery. And this also applies to people that know someone that needs to be in recovery, and they're having issues themselves as a result of that. After all, people that are living with those that have addiction issues are suffering as well. And they are also powerless over their loved ones' use, but they need to take care of themselves as well. And this episode is going to help really help those people think about and have tools on how to help themselves. So here we go. This is an interview that Aparna Sain and I did on the power of becoming a whole being. I know you're going to enjoy it.
Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, it's nice to have you back here. Mike and I run our shows back to back together on Fridays. So as always, and we bring you some what we like to think is some interesting topics. Today we are going to be exploring the whole concept of the divine feminine and the masculine energy. So this came up because I was teaching a class, and this week I've been pretty busy in some live events, but I was teaching a class on how to kind of work through some of our more subtler energies, things like softening, things like our intuition, our creativity, being able to tap into a lot of the subtler sides of all of us humans. And one thing is that one of the ways to do that is through the feminine energy. But what happens is, because people think of feminine energy as female and male, so we get right into those gender roles, it kind of gets diluted. So what feminine and masculine and that balance is called wholeness. And that wholeness resides in all humans, whether we're a man, woman, whatever that may be, whatever race, color, gender. It's all of us have the capacity to operate as a whole being. And this is why in yoga we say that as a human, unfortunately, most of us are only using about 10% of our actual potential, because the rest of it, that other dormant energy that goes untapped in most people, is because, or I should say, it's not absolute all the time, but most of the time in our life it goes untapped because we are not doing enough to balance our masculine, feminine, and create a sense of wholeness within ourselves. So when I learned this whole concept, it wasn't something I learned theoretically, nor did I actually even believe all of this stuff until I felt it experientially. I had a deep spiritual awakening when I did a practice where we were awakening what we call the Kundalini energy. And that is that serpent energy that rises from the lowest chakra all the way up and above the crown. And to do that, your first step is to balance that masculine and feminine. So I had no idea that I was so out of whack. And I had been working in a corporate job for like 15, I guess at that time, maybe just 10 years before. And I didn't realize that when we are in our headspace and when we are in that go, 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 which I'm going to call masculine way of being, people that are type A's like myself are very comfortable in that space. So even to this day, for me to go into a high charge mode of being a type A personality that I am is super duper easy. It doesn't take much, and it's my natural state. But to balance that out with the feminine side of my being and become whole took a lot of effort for me. In fact, so much so that I actually had a lot of inflammation on the right side of my body all throughout many years. People called it endometriosis. It was basically like little inflammation that I could feel because it was a little painful throughout the right side of my body. And I had it for so long that it was just like a dull pain. So I didn't think about it until I embarked on this journey of yoga and my Kundalini awakening. And then I realized, wow, it feels much better when I don't have this pain and I feel more whole. And so then when I came back to the US after some of this, I noticed that the pain had come back, and I thought, oh my God, I got to find a way to really balance myself out. And I did that through most of the practice of meditation and breath work, and also really balancing my chakras. I really jumped into it because it made me feel like I came alive. So this is a very, very long intro here, but what I'm trying to talk about here is the power of being a whole being. And that's when you start to optimize all of the more subtler chakras, right? So if you're looking at it from the chakra system, we get up from the lower three chakras, which we call the survival chakras, the root, the base, then the sexual energy, then the Muladhara, which is the navel energy. So all three are the basic survival, the sleep, food, sex, all the desires and all of those kind of money, all that kind of stuff falls in the lower three chakras. The upper three chakras are the more subtler energy. So then you get into the heart, which starts to bring you up a level. And then you get into the throat, and then the crown chakra, and then the one right above the crown, which is unseen, and it's the one above to your higher self. So anyway, so those are that's kind of a simple description of what's happening here. We're rising up through our chakras, we're balancing our masculine and feminine energy, and we are becoming whole beings. And there's a whole movement around whole leadership. So I guess this is why this question came up the other day in one of my classes. So with that, I invite Mike. I don't know, I did a lot of offloading of content here. I wanted to see if there's something he wants to share about this.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And I think that this is something that you have to explore when you get into recovery, which is, my realm. But I think for just people in general, that these are things that most people don't look at, and I think that most people don't. However, you mentioned being a type A personality, but as you know, the world that I've come from professionally, my world, you were in the corporate world, which can be very, very type A, very, very driven, and I come from the military, law enforcement, FBI world, definitely. That I used to joke that the type A personality in our office was the weakling. It was usually type AAA personalities that were there. And we laugh about that, but there's also a lot of truth. I remember one time my wife came with me to work. She had never been to an FBI office. And she was always telling me, you got a unique personality. And it's just like this just really unique thing. And then she came to the office when we had some sort of a function, and she came and she met all of my coworkers, and we were driving home, and she goes, all those people are just like you. They're exactly like you. And I said,
Triple
because
type A. I like that. I had never heard that before.
So we were all, kind of the same way. Now, for the job that we were doing, it's a good trait. for your job.
Yeah.
For your life, it's a horrible trait.
Exactly.
And because we're not people that are attuned to what you're talking about, that wholeness, you're pretty much driven to be one way. And again, it can be in our life, there's traits that we all have that are helpful, but can also be damaging at the same time. And we run into that a lot. But I will tell you, Aparna, that the concepts, I've never heard the things kind of described the way that you are describing them, but there really is a movement in the first responder world, particularly law enforcement and military world. And I think the military has actually done a much better job than law enforcement has to really tie into this, because people are beginning to realize how unhealthy living that unbalanced life is in long term. Very much
and
so.
I was going to say, a lot of, especially in the corporate settings, I've heard, or even in some of these law firms, people say, employers prefer their employees to be type A, and they would even prefer to be triple type A. Right.
Like where I came from.
Prefer it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that is actually very short-sighted, because yes, you can, burn those employees out, and then people, I've had a partner at a law firm say to me,
you don't live long that way.
Well, and people say, oh, well, if we burn them out, we'll hire there's another batch coming right after them. So, they're like,
we used to joke in our office that if you died right there at your desk, they would just wheel you out and roll it out. Again, they always say there's an element of truth to every joke that is said.
Exactly.
But we used to joke about that all the time. They would just wheel you right out of here and bring the next one in.
And it's true.
Yeah.
It's one of those, there's a large element of truth to that joke. And because people, and that's what was causing a lot of that callousness, right? And people sense that, right? So most businesses, I mean, now it's getting better, but at the end of the day, it is that way. You die in your jobs, they're going to wheel someone else in, and they're probably going to be younger and possibly smarter.
You're not vital to, I know a lot of you that are still working, particularly those of you that are in these agencies that I came from, you think you're indispensable. You're not.
Yes.
You're not. Yeah.
So, and that's why, that's why one reason I'm so surprised that people it's great to give everything you've got to the work you've got, but if you don't balance yourself out, that falls on each individual.
At the end of the day, your health, your longevity
is your business.
Just like in recovery. In my recall, I always tell the patients, at the end of the day, your recovery is yours.
Yes.
Nobody else is getting you recovered. If you do not take care of yourself, no one else will. Because nobody else cares about you in the workplace.
Especially the personal recovery piece.
Yeah.
Personal healing piece, actually. Not just in recovery, but in general, I think.
In general, everything about your health.
It's all our own responsibility.
Right.
And it goes far beyond now. We get things like organic lunches brought in, or we'll get like a subscription to Calm and Headspace, and we think and so they're checking their boxes, but are you checking your own?
That's a very good point. And I want to make this clear that I appreciate the fact that employers are more sensitive to that. I get that. But it's kind of like what you and I talked about when we were talking about diet, 2 weeks ago, that I can know how to diet, but I have to do the diet.
Yes.
And so your employer can come in and provide these tools to you, but at the end of the day, they're tools. You can use it or not. You can hand me a hammer. It doesn't mean I'm going to use the hammer. But that's really what that is. But here's an interesting thing, that when it comes to people that retire from a law enforcement job, do you know that the life expectancy of a person after they retire from law enforcement is 5 years? Did you know that?
No, I did not
5
know
years.
that.
Now I guess I'm pretty close to the end, because I retired in 2019.
That's pretty short. It
is very short.
Scary.
But it's because these are the type A, the people were trained to be one way, but they've never thought of
expansion,
balancing, and by then you're probably in your 50s and 60s, and this accumulated stress and not living a healthy life, not living a balanced life, it catches up with you. It catches up with you.
And balance goes beyond nutrition and even exercise, because this kind of balance that I'm talking about, a lot of people do work out. So especially in the military, right? People work out, so you are healing, you're keeping your body healthy, but your energy is still not balanced. You're still not tapping into and allowing that subtler part of you to move through you, right? So it just gets dormant, and it gets stiff, and it just doesn't serve you. right? So you're not balanced. So if we cut ourselves in half, which I guess I wish there was a way for me to show that when I was going through this, because I did have that pain just on that right side, and then the left side was fine. And it was just always amazing to me. I could see it deep in my meditation, but I could even feel the pain normally. And I was amazed at the fact that it only stayed on that one side. So I was using one side of my brain basically more than the other, clearly. And so what ended up happening in my case, I noticed that I was actually bullying, like my type A aggressive side was bullying the more subtler, softer, feminine side of myself, right? So there was that war going on. I know it sounds weird. It may sound hokey-pokey. Yeah, that inner battle. Okay. And we all have that. There is that inner conflict. And that sometimes manifests in anger. Anger is one big way that it manifests. And I actually love the emotion of anger because anger is a very strong emotion, just like love is a very strong and powerful emotion. So if you are angry or you do have that anger, it's an indication of something that needs to move through you. Right, to release that anger and work through that. And we have a specific set way of working through that through some of the, the practices, through that Kundalini and through the some of the yogic practices. We have a way to work through that inner anger because we all have dormant parts of ourselves that are not being voiced, right? Just like I felt like the subtler part of me was being bullied by the aggressive part of me because I was always go, go, go. I want to get there. I want to achieve this. I need this amount of success. I need this amount of money. And so when we get into all of that inner conflict, that's what makes us really, that makes us sick in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It manifests in alcoholism, food addiction, addiction of all kind. Nowadays, I see people try and dealing with it through a lot of plant-based medicine. You know, it seems to be the wonder cure for some of this. And it does work, but it also still numbs you out to a large extent, right?
But you're not dealing with the problem.
You're not dealing with the problem.
You're masking the problem. You're putting that superficial Band-Aid on it, but at the end of the day, it's going to keep coming back if you don't deal with the cause.
Yeah, and the thing about that is also with this plant-based stuff is people the best example of this is Steve Jobs. He actually has been known to do a lot of plant-based medicine and all those things when he was trying to be more creative, right? So people say, I can get in my creative state by being high. Being on pot or whatever, however they're getting to be high. And then, so what you're doing right there is tapping into some of the subtler energies, the creativity, the ability to let go, the ability to be childlike and playful and fun and all of those things you're all of a sudden tapping into, except that you're using an artificial substance to do that. And so to avoid that or how to get away from that, and what if you could be like that all the time without any substance at all? Right? So that's the key. And it's very much possible. And when I learned that, I thought it was like the biggest breakthrough in the whole wide world for me. Like I was like, oh my God, how do I keep staying in my heart space? Now, there are tools out there, just for the sake of people who are listening and who want to try some of this. One tool that you can use that is pretty commonly available is Tai Chi, Qigong. Those kind of tools really help you, and they're breath-based, but there's also movement in that, and that's a very subtle movement, and that allows you to tap into some of the subtler energies like the creativity, I personally love both Tai Chi and Qigong. I actually teach some of it in some of my classes, and I think that in a corporate setting or in any high-stress environment, I think it's really important for people to take the time to balance that way. And then also, of course, meditation is the wonder drug for all of this. And if you can meditate at least, 10 to 15 minutes every day, then you are giving yourself that break and you're allowing yourself to just come to wholeness and stillness and then go into whatever states you're going to naturally go into. I didn't feel that when I came back into a corporate setting that meditation, I have a really long practice, but I didn't feel that was enough. I felt like I needed more throughout my day just because I was so wound up from my work. So I would actually recommend people do like a little 3 to 5 minute practice throughout their day. so that you can actually, even just if you find stillness and just observe your breath or go for a walk or do all of these subtler things, connecting with nature is another good way to tap into some of those subtler energies and creativity. So all of these things, intuition, creativity, those are two really good tools no matter what job you work in to be able to tap into for yourself, because it saves you a huge amount of work. So for example, I used to work in corporate sales and I did really well with my type A personality. But now I look back and I think, God, if I could have really used my intuition more and more, and if I had used my creativity more and more, I would probably achieve like 1,000 times more than I did with a whole lot less effort. So learning to say no, learning to see where you really want to tap your energy into, as opposed to just, one of my example that I use for people is we want to put everything under the kitchen sink in our to-do list. Every day we'll be like, okay, I need to do this. And then those items continue to keep transferring day in and day out, day in and day out. And you're still looking at the same items and it makes you feel not so good, right? It's like, God, I wish I could do more. And that creates more stress. So instead of that, re-examine your to-do list and really look at, if it's been sitting there for like 3 weeks without me really doing something about it, is it really that important? Look at the why. Is it really that important to me? And then keep it if it is. But a lot of times it's not. We just want to kind of put it out there because it would be nice to do, or my friend is doing it and I wish I was more, and I wish I could be doing, and for me for years it was social media. I wish I could do more social media. Well, and I was like, well, I don't know it. I'd have to learn it. And first of all, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
I never made it a priority until now. And now I have a much, first I dropped it because I was like, look, I'm just not taking this on at all. And now it's time to come back. So, here we are. And Mike, any thoughts you wish to share?
No, that's a great topic. And in fact, as we lead into my program, you've given me a whole host of things that we're going to discuss. So looking forward to it. And this is all really good stuff, guys. This is really, really going to help all of you prolong your life, prolong your health, and your happiness, really.
Absolutely. And, lots more to come with that, lots more to share. Thank you for always joining us on Mindful Nation Radio. We are here for you, and we look forward to always having your feedback. And you can reach out to us at mindfulnationradio@gmail.com. We cover a whole host of topics, and I wish there was a way for us to bring you some of these practices that you can actually play with on your own. So if we had maybe on YouTube, I could start sharing some more, because now I am embracing social media like not now I'm taking it on full on. So whatever I can do, I am starting to do. So I've entered into something that was done many years ago now, but I have fully taken it on, and I'm also taking on a lot of embracing of artificial intelligence and seeing what that means for mindfulness. And that is something I got inspired to do after being in a conference just yesterday, and I started playing with it. So tools like, ChatGPT and others, and there is a whole host we can learn from the technology or from artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of nuances in there, subtleties that we can bring as a human to make ourselves better humans. So anything that makes us a better human, I am all for. And hence, I'm taking this on. So there's more to come on that. And with that, we are going to be concluding our show, but I will give Mike an opportunity to talk about Recovery is Possible. Thanks, Mike, for joining us.
Thank you. I always enjoy it.
Do you want to say about Recovery is Possible and how we can get a hold of your show?
Absolutely.
You are on many platforms.
Yeah, so we have the show coming up here next, so please stick around and we're going to continue this conversation. And my podcast I have is called Recovery is Possible. You can check it out on any platform that you listen to podcasts on. And we also have a website, and that's VanMeterWellnessSolutions.com, VanMeterWellnessSolutions.com. Take care. So that was my interview with Aparna Sain, and the discussion was on the power of becoming a whole being. And I know that was information that's going to help you if you need to be in recovery or you are in recovery, or if you have a loved one that needs to be in recovery. So the power of becoming a whole being. So please use the information that we provided today. Help yourself, help others, because we are really in a crisis right now in this country with addiction. And now more than ever, do we need to have these tools available for all of us. So with that, folks, this episode of Recovery is Possible was brought to you by Retreat Behavioral Health, where there are endless possibilities for recovery. Retreat provides quality care at their leading mental health and substance use treatment centers, which are designed to offer patients truly personalized and comprehensive programs that are tailored to their needs. Retreat substance use and mental health treatment centers in Palm Beach County, Florida, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and New Haven, Connecticut do everything in their power to ensure that patients receive the highest quality treatment in a safe and comfortable setting. So reach out today at retreatbehavioralhealth.com or call at 855-802-6600 for more information. So with that, folks, you take care of yourselves, and we're going to talk with you soon about recovery, because recovery is possible. If you work it, you can do it. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.